And go ahead and share.
To sort of frame this, this is a continuation
you
of.
Can go ahead and share, please.
Yep. And go ahead, Bob.
As I said, to sort of frame this is a continuation of a meeting from a couple of weeks ago. And that one we kind of focused on more low-level stuff like language design. But now we kind of have the higher level notebook interface workflows more in place.
For people joining this live stream, we should explain what on earth this is about.
Okay.
Would
you like me to go so? Are we live? I didn't even see the chat. Okay, great. Right. So this is a new framework that's coming out in Wolfram language for writing questions like educational questions, like in a quiz for students that have automatic assessment built in. And the idea is you can package these things together in notebooks to make quizzes, and there's a deployment mechanism through the cloud that secures the answer keys, and you can distribute quizzes that way, and students can answer them. And
let's see the whole workflow.
It's all very general. Yeah. So this is the top level workflow. And anybody who watched last week, including us, we saw sort of like from the ground up, like the language design of things that empowers this. And we'll probably work our way back to there in this meeting, I'd hope. But it's good to have it.
Okay, so this thing then makes this. Let's start with what it makes. Could I see what it makes, please?
So what it makes is a quiz.
Can you just show it?
Like this. Here's the quiz right here.
Okay.
I'll zoom in a bit.
No, you don't.
Yeah,
you don't need to zoom. It's fine.
Well, it makes a quiz that we can answer.
Why does that have a little? But do we have somebody from graphic design here? Can we please get somebody from graphic design? We're going to have a bunch of graphic designers, Suze.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know why that check mark has a broken box there. Why does that check mark have a broken box?
Right. That's the asset that we have.
Where did it come from?
Came from design. Yeah.
We looked at a bunch of them. We settled.
I don't understand why we would have that one. It just looks broken to me.
Okay. I think other people thought it looked nice. I don't have any justification.
It looked to me like it was, it had some kind of, pixeloid problem.
Yeah, I don't have a strong.
Maybe if you complete the square, it looks kind of weird or something. I don't know.
I think it looks a bit modern, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. So that math quiz thing, can you show me in the source where that comes from?
The thing that says math quiz, that's here in the settings menu.
So I'm not sure that's styling. So I see. So that styling, you've got to say more than just docked cell. You've got to say,
yep.
Because that's incomprehensible.
Yeah, that's the wrong label. It should be title, quiz title.
Right. Yeah.
Quiz title paren docked at the top of the screen or something.
Yeah.
Is it docked at the top of the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there were 20 questions, it would scroll with it would.
Okay, but so question: is there? If I wanted to put additional things in there that said things like, answer 7 of the 10 questions or something. If I wanted to put additional material there, I would like to be able to do that rather than just having that.
Oh,
I mean, obviously you can put arbitrary content in the notebook itself.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Exactly.
No, I understand that, but that non-scrollable, that docked cell.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just meant to be like a simple kind of thing, but yeah.
I know it's a simple thing, but it also doesn't look very good.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, the spacing above it is definitely too small.
Yeah, the spacing's a little weird.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the
Are we getting
color scheme.
Design. Anybody from design, please? Since we're doing graphic design review, we should have some graphic design.
Yeah, I'm tracking someone down right now.
Okay. Make your window narrower. No, just that window. The quiz window. Just make it much narrower. Are you doing that? I'm not seeing anything.
Yep, I'm doing that.
Well, I'm not seeing anything.
Yeah, I'm not. Oh, there it goes. I think Zoom was just slow to respond.
Okay. So how does this work on mobile? Does it go responsive correctly?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a cloud notebook, and I think that the actual cloud objects.
Question. I mean, I'm asking a specific question. Does it? Because we do have some capability. I mean, if I look at this on my phone, is it going to look decent? Have you looked?
I haven't.
No, I haven't looked on mobile.
You need to check that.
All right. Yep.
Okay.
And has this had any kind of UX review? Is there anybody from UX in this meeting?
This hasn't.
The original, the standard form notebooks did, and we've used a lot of that precedent to design this, but it hasn't been reviewed in the question.
So it needs to be.
I agree. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So let's come back. So this is what we're making, and when we press submit here, what's happening?
You mean we're
there's two. I mean, right. If you see in this settings menu before he closes it.
Yeah, I was going to look in the settings.
Right. So in the settings menu, you have the choice for things to be assessed locally or in the cloud. Right. So if it's locally, it's not really secure. A clever person could find the answer key and answer it. But if it's in the cloud, then when you press submit, it sends your answer along with a question ID to an endpoint that was created in the cloud when you hit generate. And there the assessment runs and it returns an assessment result object saying whether you're correct or incorrect. There might be like an explanation, that sort of stuff. And then
let's think about the wording answer key contained in notebook. Did we confirm that wording earlier?
I think we came up with it in a meeting with you, but
I think so.
I don't. Okay. We could revisit it certainly.
The question is what notebook means, because what do we call the sort of client notebook?
We usually call this the authoring, and then this one the user notebook.
Right. Informally, we've called it quiz notebook, which just makes a lot of sense. But then we're buying into the term quiz, which we can do.
I don't think we should.
But it's not necessarily general enough. Yeah, user notebook is general enough, but it maybe isn't specific enough.
Answer key container. So the problem is, which notebook are we talking about here?
Right.
And
user, we could say in user notebook.
I think that would help.
Okay.
Answer key contained in user notebook.
Is contained the right word, or should it say like encoded? It's not like they're in plain text for someone to see it.
Yeah.
You have to be a little clever.
Encoded. Let's say encoded.
Okay.
And use a notebook. I think that's good.
Sure.
So we're changing docked cell to say title cell, I guess. Oh, Jeremy, did you just join us?
Yeah, I just joined.
Stephen, could you show the thing on the right, the user notebook, whatever we're calling it? Jeremy, I am not into the broken box check marks.
This guy right here.
Okay, yeah. All right.
I mean, are you going to argue for them?
No.
Okay. I mean, I think that and I also think that the green and red should go more brightly green and red, I would think. I don't really see why they should be muted like that. I don't know.
Yeah, not pure green red, but
no, I
definitely the green's a little muted. Yeah, for sure. The red kind of pops enough.
I know, but the green is like, great, you got it right.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
Okay, and the minor point there, not for you, Jeremy, but there's clearly an alignment problem with that box and the input field.
Right. Yeah.
And there are alignment problems also that we see in the input fields and the settings menu.
Yeah.
Yeah. I assume I think Billy worked on this. He's got a spec. This surely doesn't match it.
Okay.
When I use this on Mac, some of the alignment
Okay,
issues are
so
better.
actually, there's a point
Yeah.
here which Ethan on our live stream is commenting on. When you say assess each question independently or assess all questions at once, you should clarify that that means the first one of those means there's going to be a submit button on every question, right? And the
Right.
last
Okay.
and the second. So it's not obvious that the assess every question independently. Assess each question independently, paren, submit button for each question.
Mm-hmm.
Include a submit button on each question for each question, and last one,
How about if it was just submit each question independently? Would that
yes,
say
that's
it?
better. That's
Yeah.
better.
Okay. Yeah.
Submit all questions at once.
Right. Yeah, that's better.
Mm-hmm.
And the all at once, the submit button's up in the doc cell as well, right, Stephen?
Yeah. The all at once submit is up here.
Oh, it is. It's not down at the bottom.
No.
Okay. I think we should flip around. I think those two things, little orphans at the bottom there, should probably be before the assess locally or in the cloud. I mean, for us, it's important whether it's local or in the cloud, but I have to say, I think that's a detail for many people using this.
Okay.
I think this is a much more, I would flip them around unless you object to that.
Sure. Nope.
Okay. All right, so let's come back. The docked cell.
Oh, sure.
Why aren't you just letting them, since we have form notebook technology, why not just let them enter a cell there? Just put in a cell. They can, what's that?
Yeah. We could.
I don't see why not, because I think people are going to want to put all kinds of random stuff there, even multiple cells, because I think people are going to want things like, you're allowed to use a calculator on this test, which is kind of a ridiculous idea for a thing being done on a computer, but, you have 15 minutes for this section. I think people often want to put that in the header at the top rather than, I would think. I mean, what do I know? I haven't taken a test in millions of years.
Yeah, I mean, I think the timing thing is something we want to build in the next set of features. So you wouldn't be writing that out yourselves. I think you could just be using a built-in system for that.
Okay, fine. But I mean, I'm saying I don't see any reason why we have the technology to let them put anything they want there.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to want to put different things there. They might want to put the logo of the school or something like that there. Who knows?
Yeah, I guess the idea behind this is to just keep it simple.
I know, but I'm not sure people want it simple. I mean, if you just have a cell there that they can type anything they want into, that is simple for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be by default and have some particular style.
Yeah, I think the multiple cells thing would be pretty tricky to do.
Okay, well, all right. So why don't you say,
but having some
title cell,
yeah.
or and then just have it be there, and in the build, okay. Okay, let's go back to the source, please. Okay, what is QuestionGenerator?
Right, so that's the new symbol we're introducing 13.1 that we talked about a couple weeks ago, where you basically have a parameterized question object, and you're specifying a parameter space.
Well, what's question pool? Do we get to swim in it?
If you're not doing very well, you might feel that way.
If you think this counts as swimming in it.
So, I mean, a question pool is just like a predefined set of question objects that is, it randomly serves one to each student.
Yeah.
I don't understand. What happens? That's in the authoring notebook. What do I do when I...
So you can edit it by clicking edit question pool, and then you add whatever questions you want to the pool. And then when you're generating it into the user notebook, then the user gets one of those, one or multiple.
What does it look like what does it look like in the authoring notebook when you have a pool question?
It's this.
Right. And then so we have like this pop-up that collapses back down into what we're looking at.
Yeah.
The goal is to have a pop-up for the generator as well.
Listen, you're not inserting a question pool. You're inserting an instance of the question pool. And you're not inserting a question generator. You're not inserting...
I think you are.
Yeah, I think in the same way that you're inserting a question object, you're inserting a question generator or question.
Let me see the pull down of the question thing. That's nice.
Yeah.
And what's the difference in multiple? What's question versus multiple choice? Oh, I see. Those are...
Yeah. So these are the options
recently
that I've already
ones.
chosen. Yeah, the recently used.
That's confusing.
Yeah, there probably should be a vertical delimiter.
Yeah, there's probably a design solution to make it.
I think those should look a little different than the other buttons.
These ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, we could have the ones, the first three have some color behind them in the buttons, and those last two be white. Like, I don't know, I'm having a yellow day today. I don't know, that's the right...
I'm in my Stephen meeting.
Somebody didn't mute. We could also have little icons for pool and generator.
Yes, that might help.
Like obviously gears come to mind for generators, but
there's
gears. There's lots of gears. Yeah. That's obviously the first thing that comes to mind. But yeah.
Let me think about this for a second. So, look, you know what? Maybe we should have that first thing be called single question, and then question pool, question generator. No, single question. That's stupid. Specific question. Because they're all inserting a question. Question pool and question generator are all questions.
To the end user, yeah, they're inserting a question for the end user.
So what's the difference to the author? The author is a specific question.
It's a specific question, or static, predefined.
Well, they're predefined. They'll think it's defined before them.
Yeah.
As opposed to... Well, we could say static or fixed question, or static question.
Fixed. I like fixed.
Yeah. I think fixed is better than static.
Simple question.
Well, okay, so we could have fixed question, pooled question, and generated question. Fixed question, random question, generated question.
Or we could just say question object.
No.
Because that's what this is.
Yeah, I mean, the generators are often random depending on how you're writing them.
Well, but that's okay. I mean, fixed question, I would say fixed question, random question, generated question would be not completely obscure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate it. I don't love random question, but
I don't either. It's a random choice question, but that's too elaborate.
It's a lot of words.
Let's see. Sampled, random.
selected question.
Nah, it's obscure.
Mm.
I think we should go with random question.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
Yeah.
Or
We can-
randomized question.
That even
That's
sounds
better.
more like a generator, doesn't it?
Well, randomized is from a pool.
Okay.
Fixed question, randomized question, generated question. I think that's reasonable. Random suggests it could be out in the, it could
Yeah.
have
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm getting what you mean. That seems pretty good.
Yeah.
That
It's
seems
just
good.
all about where you would assume it's randomized from, I guess.
Yes. All right. Okay. What's next? That's under insert. So we've reviewed the questions because they've been reviewed elsewhere, right? Those question icons look really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although true false, doesn't it want to say true/false or something? I think it should say true/false rather than, you see what I'm saying?
Sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, tools.
So this is the like method that you can use to like make it so that it's these are both things that we've reviewed before in form notebooks, and they're literally just like copied from form notebook. So
But they're obscure in this case because in a form notebook you don't have this question stuff of, right?
I wouldn't say. I think they're sort of the same thing exactly.
I know they're the same
It's
thing, but in the double decker there, they're looking pretty weird.
They should look different than the ones above.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Right.
And there should be some. I mean, what is an information box anyway?
It's these little guys.
Sorry, which?
It just added
So,
this little
yeah.
more info thing.
It's collapsible in the user notebook.
I don't understand why these are tools any more than anything else is a tool. I mean, these are things to insert, aren't they? Annotations and information boxes are yet more things to insert. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess I guess they need to be differentiated somehow.
Well, I
because
mean,
they're
it could be
not
called
like
extras or something.
Right. We could we could get rid of the recently used things and put them all on one line.
I like recently used. I think it's useful.
Yeah.
What about
But if we have four things across built in, then adding recently used.
What about this? What about saying insert question instead of insert question,
Mm-hmm.
and then instead of tools, insert extras.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
I think it's more clear.
Yeah, I'll think on if there's a better term than extras, but yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
We can. That's a good place to start for sure.
And then some color coding of the, the extras and the, I don't know how much color coding, but they need to. I mean, this as it is right now, it's rather hard to understand.
Well, we're recording this. We'll make sure Billy gets it, and I'm sure he can propose colors.
We're also meeting with Billy tomorrow, so we can talk to him.
All right. Okay. What's next here? So show me what happens if you now. Okay. So that question pool has got to be labeled. That this is a
frame area.
Yes, this has got to be labeled. This is utterly obscure. Other than that, it's blue like a swimming pool. I mean, it's just utterly.
Okay.
Is there a function called question pool?
Yes, in 13.1, question generator and question pool are new symbols.
Okay, so why isn't this question pool of these things?
It is.
Well, why does it?
Why does it just look like that? It's all trying to be very gooey, like.
Yeah, and it's
not gooey.
Just because you would
gooey
end up.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you have you could say it could appear as question pool of these iconized things.
Yes, that's what it should be.
Yeah.
And I don't think you should say edit question pool. I think you should say edit edit question list or something?
Uh-huh.
Edit questions.
No, because that'd be an individual question, because you can add things to the list. Now, where do you define that pool in the first place?
In that pop-up.
Yeah.
Why the heck are we doing it that way?
Because
if we were doing it in the notebook, all in that,
I know. What if you want to use
rectangle
the pool? What if you want to have? What happens if you want 6 questions, all randomly chosen with no duplicates from this list?
Yeah, so there should be a little option in here, or it could be also in here where you say how many.
Yeah.
Okay. So to me, right. So it's got to say question pool there. But I'm also wondering, Ethan on our live stream is commenting on the preview versus code and the color backgrounds there. Yeah, it's a good question. If you flip that to preview, what does it look like? Flip one of those to preview.
So this shows you what it will look like in the user notebook.
Right.
And then we're rolling out a third toggle, which is GUI, where for some question types, you don't have to see code at all. The teacher doesn't even have to.
Yeah.
They can just put in the text for the prompt and the choices. And I think multiple choice has that in 13.1, but we're on a development branch here, so we're not seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. So again, all right. I mean, this is slightly obscure by the fact that you might very well have text between these questions.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. What is that obscure?
Oh, Ethan, I now understand Ethan's point, that it's not clear what's selected and what's not.
Right. Is gray selected or is white selected?
Yeah, gray being selected is kind of ridiculous.
Right. That was from design.
Jeremy, do you have insight on that?
We just add a touch of color, and then I think it's obvious. So
yeah,
maybe blue, maybe not that bright blue, but I think any touch of color would be obvious there.
Okay. Okay. All right. So question pool is going to have that explicit name there, and it's going to say edit question space list, I would say. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Okay. Now again, what happens if I want to reuse that same pool? I guess one isn't likely to want to do that because just you might end up asking the same question twice and stupid stuff like that. So we're making the assumption that you're not going to want to have, like.
I don't think that's stupid. I think people, like Duolingo asks you the same question 3 times in a quiz. People do that.
Really?
Yeah.
I think we talked about having some kind of mechanism for being able to have like a question pool that was shared so that you could have multiple that wouldn't ask the same thing. But yeah, it's complicated.
Yeah, you could have like a reference to another question pool in the same. Yeah. That's not in 13.1, but we've talked about that idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, fine. Okay, what's next here?
Do we want to look at that rough wireframe thing?
Do you want to share
included?
Or yeah, that's on the agenda.
Okay, well,
maybe you can share, Bob.
So
I can share.
No, I can share if you.
Okay, sure.
If you've sent me the agenda, what is it?
So just like we had that pop up for question pool, we're planning to do one for the generators, and it's trickier. And we're borrowing from what our consulting group has learned on some projects that are similar to this for that design. So basically, instead of the pop-up just being a list of questions, you need to specify parameter space.
Okay, so what is this?
Right. So this is what we want to do in the authoring notebook. When you say question generator, like where now we have that question pool where it's the iconized things, and then you can open the pop-up. We want to do the same thing for question generator. So you say question generator, opens the pop-up, and you get this thing at the top, and you select question type. You say multiple choice, and then you get this the second one where you specify these are my parameter names, and then you can use the GUI interface like we have for the static question objects to write your question. And we have this feature that's close to what the consulting group uses in theirs, where that parameter slot, I don't love that name, but it's a button where basically, like name is the name of a parameter. So then you would highlight where it says name in the prompt, and you would click parameter slot, and it would mark it as a thing to be replaced with the generated value.
Oh God, this is just unbelievably cool.
Right.
Why aren't we just writing code?
Well, certainly. I mean, you have the toggle. You can change the toggle to code and just write code. Right.
Yeah, the idea is to just offer it as make it understandable for someone who would prefer not to do it in coding.
Yeah, that's a theory. I mean, It's a theory that there are such people. I'm not sure that that's really true. I mean, it reminds me of the API, the absolute disaster of making that GUI for our API system. It's just nobody cared. It was incredibly hard to make, and nobody cared.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this?
I mean, this is what we learned is useful from the.
No, we learned people
project.
asked for. We didn't learn it was useful.
Well, I mean, we don't have anybody there, but Danny Finn was definitely thought this was opened up the ability to write things to lots of people.
I don't understand this. I don't understand it. I mean, maybe okay. Try it again on me. I didn't understand what you said.
So so you're you're the teacher teaching class, and you're not very strong in Wolfram language.
No, I don't care about the preamble. I care about what is the functionality you're trying to.
Right. So you put in
What's
the parameters.
The piece of code you're trying to write? You're
trying to write a question generator. You're trying to write a question generator. That's all.
I just pasted one in chat.
Well, could you bring that up? Okay. Oh, I'm sharing, aren't I? Okay. So the issue is, so now what are you actually going, in this particular case, where is the code? There's got to be code somewhere. It's got to have these.
You would be able to write this without code is the idea.
How?
Yeah.
How? So you would, right in the screenshot at the bottom, name would be A, random real would be, random real 1,000 or whatever. And you then in the, one of the slots, you would put floor of A, and then you'd use the parameter slot button on both A's. And then you could fill in, and then you could write whatever you want the, wrong answers to be.
So what it saves you from is from doing like string formatting stuff and using slot.
Well, I don't know why you're using toString. I don't know why you're not using string templates.
Right. This would be implemented via string template.
Well, why isn't that question interface that you've got up there use a string template?
The whole thing is inside a pure function, right?
Use a string template there. Okay, so look, here's what I think.
I mean, you have to tell people whether it's template apply or applying a function. It's got to be one or the other.
Why? Why isn't that a string template inside applied to #A? So you don't have the toString. Oh, it's my screen. So why don't I just write it? It'll just be string template. of this thing here. Get rid of all of this nonsense. And we could say backtick, applied to hash A, like that.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
Of course you can do that. Right. Okay, so my claim is that what you should do is make a bunch of examples.
Yep.
Because I think it's going to be, honestly, this thing with parameters, is it a fish? Does it jump out of the water? How does it work? Can it have an arbitrary thing in the name? What if you want to have Unicode characters in there? What if it just seems incredibly obscure to me. Incredibly obscure. The name, when is a name a name? Do you call it, if you say fish, does every time the word fish appears, does it substitute in FISH, get substituted with toString or blah, 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 blah?
That's why we want this button, this parameter slot button.
Right? Yeah, because then anything you highlight.
It's kind of like template input in doc writing, but it's not for docs. It's to say this thing, this should be
okay. So
a slot.
The other possibility would be to use a template notebook here. That's a well-developed technology.
Sure.
I think what we should do, I do not think this is a good idea. I think this is a giant tail-chasing exercise. I think we either should have them write code with good examples, so they can basically take an example that is, what we show them is, this is the finished question, this is what the code looks like. And they go click, click, and they have it.
Right.
I think that's a very viable alternative. I think it's conceivable that we could offer them a template notebook. Okay. Now I assume that, why is this slot thing, oh my gosh, why are these not lined up? Could you screen capture, Avery? Could you screen capture and show that to people?
Yep, I got it.
Okay. So here, this is exactly the slot that you're looking for, so to speak, isn't it?
Yes.
So why don't we just use a template notebook? Why don't we say, just like for your question pool, you have a pop-up of another notebook that is specifying your pool and where the diving board goes and so on. Why don't we do the same thing here, but it's a template notebook?
Right. We don't want to pull out, we don't want all the other tools. We just want to grab that slot button and use that technology.
Are you sure?
I mean, we don't want, evaluate then close cell behavior, right? That doesn't have any meaning. That doesn't have any meaning here.
No, I agree.
Maybe expression.
Yes, I think expression is relevant.
Yeah. Right. We don't want everything here. That'd just be confusing. Slot and expression, I think, are the only ones.
I'm not sure about the others. Conditional block, I can imagine as well, because it depends on, bring out these cells, comment on this essay. You've got the blump, a big essay with a conditional block. I'm not sure about that. But in any case, I really think this, the attempt to build this GUI is just make some nice examples and have them be clean and use string templates and so on. Make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Let's start with that. If we have a bunch of examples and nobody can understand them, then, I think the next thing to go to is a template notebook technology. I mean, what are you doing with your parameter slot? Does it visually appear different? Is it like a blob that shows up there?
Yeah, there was going to be a visual indicator. We haven't spec'd that out yet. Yeah.
Okay, but why not? Why rebuild that whole technology when we already have it for template notebooks?
It's a good point. We'll look into reusing the template notebook stuff.
Yep. Okay, what's next?
So we had a bunch of nothing major, but minor changes to the design for these two new symbols, and so the ref pages have been updated. They're still futurized, even though these are system symbols in 13.1. So it'd be good to unfuturize them,
but experimentalize them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, before we had this thing where we were mixing two associations and it could have been collisions. And so we decided to use the #2 approach for to pass assessment data in. And that definitely cleaned things up. We implemented it.
Remind me how that works.
So in QuestionGenerator, the second argument is a function that returns a question object.
Yep.
And the arguments to that function, the first one is the association that is, the driver. And the second one is previous assessment results.
Okay.
Which is an assessment result object, which can be nested and you can query into it. So I think it'll work well.
Right. Okay. All right. That sounds okay to me. Generation time.
Right. That's not implemented. That's more of an idea than anything else.
Okay, fine.
But it'd be good to revisit after the 13.1.
I really don't like the name question pool. I really don't like it. I've said that before.
Bank is just as good, but those are the things that people call them in the world. That's what people call them, either question banks or question pools. So I wouldn't want anything else.
Such an obscure name. I mean, it's kind of like, what is it? One is called
like a random choice operator. It's like a random choice operator.
Oh God, it's an operator like that. So,
yeah,
question generator is an operator too. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, you can think about it that way. Yeah.
Look, if it's an operator, I didn't even understand that point.
I mean, I wouldn't even think. Yeah, I mean, you can call it an operator, but I wouldn't think of it as like mapping inputs to outputs. It's just a held thing that is turned on by applying it to arguments. I don't know. I have different connotation for the word operator, but functionally it's equivalent.
Yeah, I get it. Also, the operator often will just okay, what does this do again? So let's see. Represents a question pool from which will be served.
Maybe selected is a better word. Oh no, randomly selected. I wouldn't repeat it. Mm-hmm. Random question object QO will be selected. Maybe.
No, but also represents a question pool. It won't be. It's not will be served. From which it can be served. It can be served. It's not will be. There's no will be because nothing's going to happen in this case.
Yeah.
Represents a question pool. From which one of the question objects QO sub I, and I would spell out question objects, not the function name. From which one of the question objects from which question objects QO sub I can be randomly selected.
Yep.
Cloud deploy should have a hyphen. Not returns this selected question object, returns the first note there, returns a randomly selected question object.
Yes.
And then returns a list of n randomly selected objects, question objects. Okay. Okay. What else is there to look at here except this name? Are we going with banks or pools?
I prefer pool. I wouldn't be upset about bank.
let's see if we just do a little search on the web.
Yeah, I've
many
done
times-
that experiment before.
Yeah.
That's why I slightly prefer pool, is because of incognito Google searches.
Question bank wins by a factor of 100 in terms of number of hits. Question pool is like 500,000 hits. Question bank is like 42 million hits.
In my mind, question bank has a slightly different connotation, I think. Just because question bank is usually like, it's one thing that like you go to the question bank like website or whatever, where you answer questions from their specific bank. Whereas question pool is more like an individual thing.
That's interesting. I got 3.6 billion for question pool and 2 billion for question bank.
Well, I mean, those numbers are just nonsense anyway.
Oh yeah, my numbers are different also.
Yeah.
It's an estimate.
Did you use quotes?
I did question space pool and question space bank.
No, you just have to use quotes. Well, if look.
Okay. Yeah, maybe question bank then.
Yeah.
You know what? What about question selector? Just you've got question generator, question selector. One of them is just selecting and the other is generating. What do you feel about that? Because then it goes along with question generator.
Yeah. You don't think
this other thing is really obscure because
you don't think it's people think like select like pattern matching or anything, do you?
No, I don't. I don't think so.
In my mind, teachers are familiar with the pool.
Yes, except that they mean something different by it.
Yeah.
As you've said, question bank. I mean, you see, question pool to me is exactly what the web is telling me it means. That is, a question bank. There's a definition here. Question bank is a collection of questions that is stored for repeated use. That's what I would have expected, right? That's exactly what I would have expected, not a local selector. A question bank is kind of like, well, we got to set this test this week. Now we're going to use these 5 questions once. Kaboom. Selected.
I mean, you could take one of these things and, export it. And
yes, but that's not what you have in mind. You have in mind.
Well, we also have this idea of a course repository where it's exactly what we have in mind.
No, but it's not what you have in mind. For this question pool object, you have in mind a select at the moment of generating the quiz. Different for each student.
Yeah.
That's your whole point. Whereas this other thing is much more of a global thing where go to the bank, select the things, everybody's going to get the same 5 questions.
But like
the idea was that you would take one of these question pool objects and you would publish it in a repository and somebody else could bring it down and
I know that,
immediately deploy it in their quiz.
Right,
and then
right.
This thing.
But you're saying that the use case of generator and selector, which is what it should be called, is at the moment of quiz generation, run it.
Right.
Correct?
Right. Well, right. We have this generation time thing that we want to do, but yeah.
But
I think question selector is much better. I think it's clear what it does. It selects between questions. Question generator generates questions.
Yeah.
I think we need to use the terms quickly in the documentation for SEO and all other things. Bank and pool.
Yeah, it's fine. You can do that. But I mean, you can put them in the keywords.
My only other thing to add is that question pools and in like Blackboard and D2L are the way that we have question pools in here. It's
great. Then people will learn that that's what we call a question selector. The fact that somebody else named something some way and possibly got it wrong and confused people is irrelevant. Let's call it question selector. It's the right thing. It goes with question generator. It goes with question object.
It's more will for me.
Yeah,
sure.
It's more something that people will understand in our code. I mean, otherwise they're going to be confused. We can absolutely have question banks in the courseware repository. They'll be great there, but they're not what you're talking about here. See what I'm saying?
When you retrieve a question bank, it will have had question selector, I imagine.
No, it won't most of the time. It will be something with no, because what you want to do is you want to go to the question bank and you want to retrieve 5 questions once and for all for your quiz, right? So that your authoring notebook has, I think the typical use case will be retrieve the questions from the question bank, then annotate them a bit in your quiz, then use your quiz. Rather than this, which is at the moment of individually generating it for a particular student, make a new quiz item, make a new question. See what I'm saying?
No, but I think this is both. This is both things.
Well, I don't think it should be both things. I don't think it should be. I don't think that's the right way to use it. I think that there's a separate piece of machinery which is going from the repository to here, that you're not going to want to do that. You're going to want to see, you're not going to want something. I mean, think about the scenario, okay? So here's my scenario. I'm going to set a thing with 5 questions, right? It reminds me, I've just been writing this stuff about the creation of the NKS book where we used direct-to-plate printing, okay? Where there were no proofs. Like, it's just the bits go to the direct-to-plate machine, a plate is made, then the plate is printed from, okay? You're not going to want that here. You're not going to go straight for, unless you're feeling very rushed or lazy or something. As a teacher, you're not going to want to go straight from the question bank without seeing what actual questions have been picked for your students and have them run.
Well, I mean, you can review them as a selector, right?
No, but the selector selects at random each time.
Only once it's deployed, right? It's not.
No, but you don't want to do that for a selector. You want every student in the class to get the same 5 questions. Where those.
Oh well, that's not what a bank and a pool typically are used for.
Yes, but it is. That's where you're wrong. A question bank is used, as this definition on the web says. A question bank is, there's 300 questions here. Okay, you're going to make a quiz. You're going to pick 5 questions. Usually by computer, sometimes by hand, out of those 300 questions. Those will be your quiz, picked once and for all. They're not picked at the moment where an individual quiz is peeled off for a particular
I think the common use is that different students are served different questions. It's here. Here's 100 questions that are.
Here's what it says in Moodle.
Here's what
it says in Moodle. The question bank allows a teacher to create, preview, and edit questions in a database and use them in the quiz or lesson activity. Exactly what I just said. Question bank, next thing here, is a free tool which allows you to create practice questions from thousands of past question papers. That's exactly the use that I'm describing. Every single one of these says the use that I'm describing. I've got, there's more here. Create, preview, and edit.
Are you sharing something, or?
I wasn't sharing this,
okay.
No. I mean, it's just web results. Every single one says what it says it the way that I'm saying it. Not, it is selected randomly for a student at the moment when the student presses the button. Yeah, look at this. I mean, here, I'll show you. I'll show you. I'll show you what I have here. Every single one. Question bank allows teachers to preview questions. We go down here. SAT Suite Question Bank provides educators with access to 3,500 questions, which can be exported for use in curricular instructional planning. This is all exactly the use that I thought it was, which is you've got a set of questions, you pick from those questions, probably as a human, you select from those questions, then you go and you put them on your test. It is not what you're saying. What you're saying is a different thing, which is at the moment when a test is made for an individual student, pick a random question. That's a different activity. Look at this. Question bank for SurveyMonkey contains hundreds of questions.
Yeah, I've
you
mostly
can add
been
to your
using
survey.
question
Every
pool.
single one of these is as I've described it.
But like teachers do want to have each.
I don't care.
Test.
You told me it was called a bank, and it's not called a bank.
I told you it's called a pool.
Okay, well, let's look up question pool. Let's see what those say. No. It's not saying, it's not.
A question pools serve as the basis for random draw questions to give each student different questions.
Where is it saying that? I'm not seeing that on the first.
This is
on the
my
first stage.
sixth result. On
Okay, so look, the first results are set of questions identified by name. You can share a question pool with others. Set of questions. Here we go. Collection of questions stored for repeated use. To obtain a question, blah 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 blah. Question pool must at least 10 times the number of questions for a single exam. Okay, the question pools.
So, I mean, that implies that they're not all in the exam,
right? So that one is the first.
And the other ones aren't saying anything about how.
But they don't mean it. They don't mean it's randomly selected. They don't mean that. Okay,
but
this
I think
one
it's the
here
common use
is random. I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. It's just not what these people are seeing here. Okay, these ones I admit down here, these pools are more used at random. Okay, down here, but question bank is definitely not.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just not go here. Let's just call it question selector. And if we do want,
I just don't want you to think I'm bullshitting you because question pool is used this way.
I can see that it is used this way.
Okay.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Okay.
I'm seeing Avery's pointing out the Blackboard calls it a random block.
Well, we can't make that the name.
No, we can't. It's also a bad name. But I mean, maybe we should have the word random in there. Randomized question, which is what we're planning to call it in the text.
Well, apparently in their new thing, they're calling the random block. Random block and question set are both now called question pool for Blackboard. They're not using that terminology.
I think question selector is okay. How does the random seeding work for that?
It's just using random choice. So if you've done seed random, then it'll work.
At the moment of generating the test.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, I mean, if it's deployed in API, obviously you have no control and you shouldn't. The student has no control. The student has no control. Right. Because the seeding is all happening in the cloud API, the cloud kernel.
Yes, that's fine.
Right.
Otherwise, you can have a very strange kind of gaming.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I'd be impressed by the person who figured that out, but we still don't want to allow it.
Get an A in the computer security class.
Exactly. Too bad this was French history.
Okay. All right. That looks good. Anything else? I'm running out of time here.
No, that was our agenda. We covered it.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay. I mean, this is nice functionality. It's really, and I'm going to be interested to see, as we build this Wolfram language learning capability, which I hope is happening, obviously we should be using this.
Yeah.
To build it. Yeah. And that's the first great use case. And I really would like to see that. I mean, you're going to have this, in time for our summer camp, for example. I want to have built a bunch of stuff there, which we can test. And then maybe we can actually build some stuff in real time from this.
Short, are you doing camp this year?
I'm not doing camp this year.
Okay.
You'll be missed. Right. Anyway. Thanks. Okay. All right. Talk to you all soon.